Right, let's add a little bit more to our basket over here. So this is not static data with 100 and 110 and so on. So let's add this so it automatically calculates the value. So once I add a little bit more here, this is 4 pizzas, it needs to calculate the total of these, right? So let's do this. And the first one we're going to do is we're going to go into where we have our methods, and just after our methods we're going to create a computed. So whenever something happens, it needs to go through. This is not the same as method. I explained this in another video. But down here we're going to add our calculations for our price, right? And the first one I'm going to do is I'm just going to create one called subtotal because this is the first price we have in here. This one here, right? Without the delivery price. Oh, do it correctly, not like me. Like so. First is the parentheses, then it's the curly bracket here. And the first thing we want to do is we want to set a variable, and I'm just going to call this subcost, like this. You can call it something else. And I'm going to set this to the value of 0 because basket is empty, no pizzas are here. So the subcost is 0. To make sure this works, let's see, there's an error here. Well, whatever, it's because we're not using it. So let's grab this subtotal up here from the computer value, and let's scroll up to where we have our 100. And then we do delete, and then we do double curly brackets for interpolation, and then we punch in our subtotal. Let's see if it still gives us an error, and if it does, then I'm okay with it. Right, so now we set this subtotal in here, and we needed to continue calculating this, and we need to go through all of our items here, right? So not only the one time, we need to do a loop. So for each item we have, we're going to do this calculation here. And what we want to do is we want to create a for loop for this, and it looks like this. So inside our for loop, we're going to create and test for items, and then in this .basket, right? So for all the items we have in the basket, we want to do a check here, or go through the items, loop over them, right? So that's the first thing we want to do. And then we want to create a variable called individual, I can't even spell it, individual, yeah, there we go, item, like so. And we're going to set this to the array, the items are in the array here called basket. So this will grab the items and for each of them and set them in here so we can use them to calculate things. Last thing we're going to do, not the last thing, one thing more we're going to do is we're going to use the subtotal now, or subcost, and then we're going to add to these like so. And then we're going to grab the individual item because that's each of the items we're passing through our loop here. And then we're going to take the quantity. So if there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, or 200 or whatever. And then we're going to multiply that by the individual. I'm going to copy this because it's going to take forever to spell. And then we're going to grab the price here. So this will for each item there's going to add on top of the total cost. So for each item, again, what I just said, right? And then for the last thing we're going to do, we're going to return this so the system can actually use the subcost like so. So let's click OK, and hopefully we don't have an error now. Now it's back to 0. So now we can actually use this. So that's the first one. Let's click and add a product, and let's see, we have a basket is not defined. Where do we put an error here? Boo 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 doo doo doo. Yeah. Oh, this is not the basket. This is the items in the basket, right? Minor mistake, I hope. Let's go back, save. Let's push in there we go. So now it's doing a calculation for each item, and if we add here, it should still add for this. Great. So now it's doing a calculation based on these things. We still don't have a total amount. But we're going to create that real quick here. So after our total, subtotal, we're just going to create one called total. Like this. And maybe there's an easier way to do this, probably, but whatever, I'm doing it my way now. And first of all, we're going to create a variable. This is called the delivery price here, right? I'm going to set this for 10. And then I'm going to create a variable called total cost, like we had sub cost before. And we're going to set this to this subtotal. Now, what we want to do is we just want to do a calculation. We just want to grab the total cost and add this to add the delivery price to our total amount here. So grabbing this plus this and put it down here, right? That's what we want to do. Woo! Shouldn't be too crazy, right? So the last thing we want to do is we want to return our total cost like this, and we want to add in the delivery price like this. And then we should add this total cost up here. Where to go? Up here, instead of 100, we're going to do interpolation, and then we're going to add total in. So let's click save, refresh. This should start at 10 because it's right now using those two and add them together. Let's do add, that's 160, and this. So if I made a mistake adding this one, it should add this one twice, but it doesn't, it's only adding 10. So now we're adding doing the calculations for the total sum as well throughout our basket here. So that's how we set this up as well. By firstly computing the subtotal, and then we're putting everything together in a total amount for the basket.